Hi again. We just learned in the last video that addiction is a gradual rewiring of the brain. It changes both your biology and psychology, your hardware and software. This is caused by the repeated introduction of mood or mind-altering substances. We said teenagers are specifically susceptible to this rewiring. Unfortunately, they're also the group most likely to try experimenting with these chemicals. So let's talk about that. If we graphed how experimentation could lead to addiction, it might look like this. Imagine a kid starts to try some of this stuff. And by the way, some research shows it doesn't really matter too much what kind of stuff. If you prime your system in these early years with alcohol, marijuana, or any of this stuff, you're more likely to have a problem later. At first, the kid tries it and the long-term effects on the brain might be small. But over time, even if they experiment pretty slowly, they're going to want to use this chemical more and more. When they now think of it often, plan how and when they're going to have it, their brain's biology is changing. Eventually, they're going to have a big problem. But every kid is different. Some might have a greater genetic predisposition for this problem. They slide down the slope faster than others. Others try harder drugs or take them more often, and they also end up with a big problem. But not every kid who experiments is going to have a big problem. We all know that, and the research supports it. Some are not going to experiment much at all. Others might experiment pretty hard but pull themselves out of it for whatever reason. What I know is that I want my kid to end up here, not down here. In my own family, I didn't recognize that we had a genetic predisposition for this, which means I needed to have raised my kids in a safer environment than somebody else's family. I needed to be more vigilant and more protective. But of course, my family likes to drink, and I drink, and I learned about drinking as a teenager. So what usually happens in this kind of family with this predisposition is that they probably expose their kids to mood or mind-altering chemicals more. Almost unfortunately, the families without this problem are the safer environments, and the families with the problem are the least safe. Please factor this in when you decide how your family is going to deal with this problem. And that's the first concrete thing I want to offer as advice in these videos. Start talking about it. With your spouse or caregiving partner, get everyone around that kid on the same page. To keep them safe, as many people as possible need to be on the same page. Also, learn the signs and symptoms of a developing problem. One of my favorite pamphlets breaks the warning signs into categories: changes at home, behavioral changes, changes at school, changes in appearance, and physical evidence of use. Instead of going into all those details, I'm going to have to leave that as a homework assignment, if you're interested. It's also important to know that different chemicals had different signs of abuse. And again, that same pamphlet breaks drugs down into categories. Let's review them: alcohol, cannabinoids like marijuana, depressants, inhalants, hallucinogens, steroids, stimulants, narcotics such as opiates, certain other prescription medication, and of course, tobacco. You probably won't want to memorize all of this information, but certainly look over the signs that might apply to your kid's environment. How will you know when the drinking or marijuana is getting out of hand? Believe me, you only have two choices here. Don't learn this stuff and stick your head in the sand, which is what I did, or learn it and then be able to do something about it. In the next video, we'll talk more about what else you can do.